The relationship between Placidusax, the Gloam-eyed queen, and Metyr has been explored by few other lore channels and Reddit posts. With the release of Shadow of the Erd Tree, I feel now comfortable in revealing some of the secrets and inspiration that I have found about those three characters, which material I believe will work as stable foundation for the future lore theories. It has already been discussed how the Mesopotamian culture, architecture, and mythology were inspiration for the design of the archaic age of the lands between. In this video, we are going to continue this thread by comparing the most ancient Elden Lord Placidusax with the most ancient Mesopotamian god Tiamat. Tiamat is the dragon-like deity which is responsible together with Apsu for the creation of all the gods which they later tried to kill, and by which they were eventually killed. The Tiamat we are going to compare with Placidusax, however, will be mainly the interpretation that Dungeons and Dragons have made of this god. Zuli the Witch has demonstrated how Placidusax in its primal was supposed to have a total of 5 heads, which perfectly matches Tiamat's appearance of 5-headed dragon. As Placidusax's title is that of Dragon Lord, that of Tiamat in Dungeons and Dragons is the Dragon Queen. As Placidusax, the Dragon Lord, is in conflict with Baal, the progenitor of drakes, in Dungeons and Dragons, Tiamat, the mother of chromatic dragons, is in eternal conflict with Bahamut, the king of metallic dragons. In both universes, they are the leaders of different dragon species, and their power is so balanced that they kill or wound each other, with none of them ever emerging as a winner. Placidusax created the ritual of dragon communion, allowing the tarnished to turn into dragons, by defeating Baal and his drakes. Similarly, in Dungeons and Dragons, Tiamat creates the dragon spawn, humanoid dragons who were created for the sole purpose of fighting Bahamut and the Dragonborn, his own version of humanoid dragon servants. Placidusax is mentioned to reside at the heart of the storm, which resemble quite a bit the representation of Hell in Berserk, a giant heart at the center of the storm of darkness. Placidusax, being sealed in Hell, matches with Dungeons and Dragons Tiamat, being trapped in Avernus, the first layer of Hell. We can also find a similarity in the layers of Baal and Bahamut, as both of them reside in a mountain, respectively the Jagged Peak and the Celestial Mountain. Finally, it is heavily implied that Placidusax, being the previous Elden Lord, was defeated by the demigods who took his place, just as the original Tiamat and his Dungeons and Dragons version, who was called the Nemesis of the Gods. A striking similarity between dragons in the two games is their human shape-shifting natural ability, which we find in Lanceax in Elden Ring and in the metallic dragons in Dungeons and Dragons. In Dungeons and Dragons, among the dragons having this ability, we find Tiamat as well. But what is most interesting is the very limited description we have of its human form. A description of a girl emphasizing her dark attributes, with a special focus on the eyes, which are said to be completely black. If we were to draw a parallelism to Placidusax, then we would easily recognize its human form in the Gloam-eyed queen, whose only known feature are her dark eyes. We know the Gloam-eyed queen was an Empyrean during the previous age of the lands between, as she is not anointed by Ranni among the competing Empyreans of the current age. As an Empyrean, the Gloam-eyed queen was attempting to become Elden Lord, which is the title that Placidusax held around that period. This would mean that the Gloam-eyed queen and Placidusax were queen and Elden Lord, as already hypothesized by Cosmos, or that the Gloam-eyed queen was the human form of Placidusax. In Placidusax's domain, Farum-Azula, we can spot several other hints alluding to the Gloam-eyed queen and death in general. The presence of the god-skin duo, Maliket with the sealed rune of death, the representation of the twin bird, and a statue which seems to represent the Gloam-eyed queen, beside the previously discussed reference to the storm made of darkness in Berserk, which waves of darkness seems to be referenced in the Gloam-eyed queen great sword. Going further with Ranni's dialogue, we find that each of the current Empyreans were specifically chosen by their two fingers. Instead, in the description of the Black Fire ritual, it is not specified the type of fingers which selected the Gloam-eyed queen. Considering the age in which the Gloam-eyed queen was active, and that her sigil looked extremely similar to Metyr's face, it becomes apparent how the Gloam-eyed queen was chosen by the Mother of Fingers itself. In the Japanese description of lone wolf ashes, it is stated that the wolves met a person and joined her in the hunt. Considering that the statue in Farumazula probably represents the Gloam-eyed queen, and that she is indeed involved in a hunt, these three wolves might have been her very companions. The area above Metyr's location is characterized by an unprecedented density of wolf packs. It is then possible that Metyr used these wolves as the first shadow-bound beasts for the first Empyrean, which became the archetype the two fingers followed with humanoid wolves in the current age. To conclude the cycle of connections, if Metyr chose the Gloam-eyed queen, and the Gloam-eyed queen is Placidusax, then we can assume, just as the Garrulus Gold Mask already did in his video, that the god who fell Placidusax was indeed Metyr. This is further hinted by these three characters presenting a caduceus pattern in their iconicity. For this video, I want to thank Paolo, my friend and colleague, who showed me Dungeons & Dragons' interpretation of Tiamat, which immediately rang a bell and allowed me to do this video. Please give a look to my book The Soulsborne Thesis in the description. Thank you, bye.